Welcome to Modern Management of the Older Adult, brought to you by the Institute of Clinical Excellence.
Hey everyone, this is Shelby Blankenship reporting to you for the MMA podcast. I am one of your TAs in the level 2 as well as live. And today we're going to be talking about the Southern Legends Throwdown 50 plus fitness competition that my husband and I have started throwing. We started last year and now we just finished round 2. We did this past Saturday. So just kind of wanted to give a recap in case this is something that y'all would be interested in doing at your clinics or at your gyms, because there's definitely a niche that has not been tapped into with these folks. When we do masters comps, it's usually just 35 to maybe 45-year-olds. So that 50 plus tends to get neglected a little bit. So we're just kind of spreading the love, trying to get more of these folks, not only from our gym, but all the gyms around, to compete. So, this has been super, super fun. So just wanted to give some highlights of things that we changed this year versus last year, and just kind of give a little overview if you're not familiar with the Southern Legends Throwdown. So the Southern Legends Throwdown, we did it at our gym last year, which is about 1,500 square feet. This year, we were able to do it at an actual CrossFit gym, which was much, much, much larger, which was really nice from like a logistics perspective, but also just an equipment perspective. We were able to be a little bit more versatile in our programming, which was nice. But with that came a little bit more of an increased price. So last year, we had our teams pay $100 per team, and the teams were teams of 2. This year, we did $200. This allowed one for better venue, but also we were able to create better prizes. We did our own website. We were able to advertise. We were also increased like having more vendors and sponsors because we didn't have any of those last year. And if there's any advice I can give when it comes to vendors is make sure at least one of them is food. That is one of the biggest sellers, especially when you're doing a fitness competition. People really need nutrition and good nutrition, and it helps kind of broadcast opportunities in the local community if you have some people there that are really honed in on that market when it comes to nutrition and kind of giving them that opportunity to, show what they have. We had 2 vendors that are really in that kind of health industry, which was really, really nice to kind of give the local small business a little bit of love, because that's easily a hard market to kind of advertise with, because people tend to only think about like the really big ones like Factor Meals or those kinds of things. So that was really, really nice. We really, really enjoyed that. The other vendor that I would highly recommend having, and unfortunately we're not able to have it this year. They had some childcare things that popped up, but was t-shirts, any type of cool wear is always going to get sold. People love t-shirts. They especially love them when they have like cool sayings, especially when it relates to age and being able to show how, for lack of a better word, badass that they are. So that is another one that I would definitely tap into. The third one, which was one of our sponsors, but they were not able to be there, is we actually got sponsored by a company called Transformation here in Nashville, and they're really, really into the getting DEXA scans and those kinds of things a little bit more available to people rather than always having to go through insurance. And especially since that's kind of like the gold standard when it comes to musculoskeletal health, we made sure to kind of add that to our funnel, if you will, of how, like, who we wanted to sponsor what we were doing, because we wanted it to be people that, we believed in. And so that was really nice to kind of have that availability as well, to kind of broadcast like, hey, there's other ways besides, the BMI or, things that aren't as great. So we definitely reached out to them, and that was a really nice collaboration as well. As far as programming went this year, my husband did all the programming, but we definitely kind of changed it up a little bit more from last year. I talked earlier about how we changed up, just because we had more stuff that we could work with. But the other thing that we did is we really tried to attribute like what type of testing that we wanted to be done. And we did ultimately 5 tests. The 5th one was a sneaky surprise one, but the first 2 were very endurance based. So the first one that it was a 1200 meter for our scaled athletes, or we call them newbies, and then we had a 1600 meter for our more higher level athletes. We call them our crafty veterans, and they had to do a 1200 meter or 1600 meter ski as a team. And then once they finished, they had a little bit of 1 rep max of a complex. So it was deadlift, power clean, hang power clean, and a push jerk. Last year, what we did is we did just a deadlift max, and we actually ran out of weights. So, cause some of these people are really, really strong. So, that was a really good learning experience for us, is that we wanted to make sure a complex ended up where we didn't have to have as many weights, and it actually ran a little bit more efficiently, because it wasn't just people just continuing to throw weight on the bar. They actually, were a little bit more strategic in trying to get those 3 to 4 lifts in, because it required so much more effort. And then the second event this year it was a 12-minute time cap, and it required a buy-in of a certain number of calories on the assault bike, walking lunges with a barbell on their backs, and 50 wall balls, and then they had to do the reverse, and then the score was their max calories on the bike. Well, some of these people were super speedy, and they actually ended up on the bike for 6 to 7 minutes. And if you've ever been on the bike for more than 2, it's terrible. So it was a lot of strategy on their part, but also it really kind of opened people's eyes of how much they had in the tank when it came to the bike. And every single person, every single team, every single division really, really felt that workout, which I thought was a huge, huge win. Because sometimes there's certain workouts that don't speak to both divisions really well. It's really hard for the newbies, but it's not as challenging for the crafty veterans. So we really liked that kind of workout where it had that time cap, but it really, really showed not only their capacity to do those very leg heavy things, but that really hard cardio at the end. The last, 3rd and 4th events that we did were really focused on being fast and powerful. So we had a 200 meter joined run, or they could walk or jog, jog for all we care. It didn't matter. The point is that we wanted to kind of challenge that system, because we really didn't do that the year before, besides a sandbag carry that some people actually did run with. And they had to do 3 rounds as a group of 10 pull-ups or jump pull-ups and 20 kettlebell swings. So something that just really got the heart rate up and just kind of kept going. Obviously some strategy there depending on who was stronger in your team for those 2 exercises. The 4th event was really focused on trying to make sure that the legs were really tired. So we had a sandbag goblet squat ladder where they kept kind of traversing down the lines. We had 25 feet, and we blocked off or had lines for every 5 feet. So visually it was really cool, because you could see immediately who was in the lead, but it also kind of created that angst for a lot of the competitors to make sure that they didn't screw up the ladder, because they had to do, partner 1 was doing 10 goblet squats while the other was going down and back with the sandbag, and then they would switch, and then every 5 feet they would go down in reps, so 8, 6, 4, 2, and by the end people got a little confused of who was supposed to be holding the sandbag and who was supposed to be holding the goblet squat, and it was very, very fun to watch, and kind of get that panicky sensation for an event. The 5th one we did, which was a surprise to everybody, was 1 minute max synchro burpees. Nobody's happy about doing synchro burpees, especially at the very end, but it was my birthday, and I thought nothing better to do than synchro burpees. I mean, that's just what you do. And we hadn't done burpees in an event yet, so that was really fun, especially for a lot of our folks from Stave Off that got to participate. a lot of the events this year were stuff they could not have done the year before. So the walking lunges, the wall balls, the burpees, really showed just like the improved capacity, kind of like how the CrossFit Open does as well. And so it was just really neat to see their ability to do that and then be really proud of themselves, because a lot of the way that our divisions are, we don't have it by age group. We just have it by capacity to do things. So eventually, like obviously if this became a lot bigger, we would love to have that where we would have a section where it's like, hey, you know, if the accumulated age is 100 to 120, you're in this group, et cetera, et cetera. Because one of our guys, Gary, he's 75. He was the oldest competitor and he did awesome. But I think sometimes it's easy when you're 75 competing against a 55-year-old. It's sometimes easy to be like, like I could have done better on this event. And sometimes age can matter, but I think more than anything, we like to show like capacity is capacity regardless of age. But recovery can definitely play a huge factor when you've got this many events. As far as recovery goes, we really shot for doing one event every hour. So especially like those shorter events, we would try to take a little bit more time on the reset or just allowed people to have a little bit extra break time versus like our longer workouts where they were like 12 to 17 minutes, we would turn around a little bit faster. Overall, I think people wish they had maybe a little bit more rest after that second event with the bike, but I mean, they really did well. And we really emphasized like visiting the vendors with the food to make sure they were getting enough nutrition, especially for our peeps. We were really emphasizing at least 2 weeks prior, like they've got to eat, they've got to get the carbs in, they've got to get the protein in to make sure that recovery on the day of wasn't just reliant on that day, but the many weeks prior to that. As far as like some things that, you know, that some, I don't want to call them headaches, but little things that kind of popped up this year compared to last year. Last year we had 15 teams. This year we had 13 teams. And unfortunately we actually ended up going down to 11 because the day before 2 teams had to drop, for different reasons, mostly due to like illness or a family, situation. And unfortunately, that's just that comes with these kinds of things. And so being able to kind of swap people and move people in and out of the heats, it's just part of it. But for us, I think we really tried to emphasize like communication with the volunteers and the participants to make sure it wasn't like an overwhelming experience. Like we wanted to make sure they always felt like they knew what they were doing and there was, you know, a lot of continuity between the events and people felt like secure in what was going on that day. Because a lot of the times, most of these people never compete in these kinds of things. And so it's easy to kind of get overwhelmed just alone from the competition. But another reason is if it's not being sufficiently ran. So we made sure that we had people identified of like who were kind of like their helpers. So we had one of our friends, Jesse from Onward, who actually got to do the warm-ups for all these folks before each event. So one, to make sure that they had an adequate warm-up, because some of them, again, never competed before. So the only warm-up they've done is somebody else is telling them what to do in their classes or their coach is telling them what to do. So that kind of took a little bit of that pressure off them to know, like, am I warmed up enough? Should I be doing more? Should I be doing less? So that was really helpful. We also kind of made sure that our volunteers were divvied up into different categories of like they were just doing equipment or they were just doing the judging, or they were kind of like doing the social media or those kinds of things, which just kind of helps everybody know what they're supposed to do and not just standing around. As far as things that I would probably do next year for sure if we did this is I actually reached out to a couple of news channels like the week of to see, you know, if they would actually like to report on something positive. And I didn't hear anything back, but I think that's one thing I would definitely push more towards next year because I think this is something that a lot of more people need to see, and nothing better than on the news. I mean, so many people in this age demographic still watch the news, and I think that would be super, super neat to kind of see not only themselves, but also like their family members, their friends, like out there competing. I think it would give a lot more people confidence of stepping into CrossFit gyms or gyms like Stave Off, because I think that adds so much value versus just somebody who's my age, just telling them that this would be beneficial for them. The other thing would be maybe adding some more divisions. Like I said prior, if we can get more signups, that would definitely be a goal. Just to allow a little bit more even spread of capacity and ability to be really weighed against each other a little bit more evenly. I think that's another area that I would like to improve upon in the future. But as far as highlights go, I mean, it's so fun. And it's just definitely one of those things where you get to see people like really shine and like overcome that pressure, overcome that anxiety. And some of these people are really pressure players, and it's just really fun to watch. And we definitely always have a photographer there, and a lady was really sweet enough to take videos for us. And you just can't, it's hard to encapsulate those moments without having somebody like that there, because it's so easy to just, like, it's like, you know, any Disney Channel Friday movie where you're just like, oh my gosh, like, I cannot believe this is happening. It's just, they get so excited and pumped when they hit their PR and everyone's cheering for them. And it's really fun to watch. So, I mean, if this is something that you're interested in, I know, like, as therapists, and we're not exactly created to be event coordinators, but this is something that definitely has an opportunity and a niche that is needed. So if you have any other questions or comments about ideas of how to do this, like, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to kind of give you my 2 cents. But yeah, so as far as MMOA goes, we've got live coming up at September 7th and 8th. We'll be in Mobile, Alabama and Minnetonka, Minnesota. For L1, we are starting back October 16th, and then for L2, day after, October 17th. So if you're wanting to get your MMOA ICER, highly recommend checking those out so you can do that. But y'all have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to the MMOA podcast. If you found this helpful, please share with someone that could benefit. And if you're looking for more practical content to help you better serve older adults, head over to www.mmoa.online, where you can learn more about our free resources, our community, continuing education courses, and our certification. Once again, that's www.mmoa.online. Thanks for listening.